I'm going to go enjoy my server for a little bit. And with that in mind, we're going to finally upgrade Ambrosia. What up, my roomies, and welcome back to the technical guide to Minecraft. And we're back at the Void Trader because I needed a lot of glass. And so I got 25 shulker boxes worth of glass. In order to make the base that I'm thinking about making, we're gonna need some amethyst. And here's the thing. While it's more efficient to do things by hand, I don't really have time to wait around about 3 hours per cycle in order to get a full cluster of amethyst crystals. So we're gonna just have to, well, automate it. And yes, before you say it, automating is gonna cut into the profits of getting amethyst, but in exchange for efficiency, we're able to just AFK at the spot, and while we're sleeping or at work. I wish I could make this full time, but it's not. We're gonna need to make the times that I don't spend around the farm to be able to get more amethyst crystals, because I'm going to need about 40, let's say 46 shulker boxes worth of tinted glass in order to finish this build. While you do get a lot with a Fortune 3 pickaxe, you only get that every 3 hours, and like I said, I'm not gonna be waiting around that long, so we need something to help automate this. And the reason why we're at the Void Trader is, of course, to collect all the glass that we're gonna need for this build in the future. So let's just send this buddy back, collect these shulker boxes, and then we'll go over on how to make a relatively simple AFK Amethyst Crystal Farm. And so, welcome to KiguCorp, where safety is a concern. So over here, we have ourselves just a standard amethyst cluster. Right now, it has all of its parts and all of its amethyst shards at full growth. And so what we do here is take Fortune 3, which is the best way to do this, and just collect it. And with one, you get 16 amethyst shards. And for those who need like just a quick batch of amethyst, having just one shard is enough. But it is possible to actually automate this, but it comes with a cost. See, instead of having Fortune 3 and doing it for you, if you have a piston do it for you, which is equivalent to just a standard pickaxe, you only get 1 to 3 amethyst shards per collection, which is a far cry from the 16 that we got earlier. Now, why would a person want to automate having an amethyst shard farm? I mean, couldn't a person just harvest it themselves? I mean, it's not like amethyst clusters only come with one budding amethyst. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to need a lot of amethyst shards in order to do the build that I want to do for the Ambrosia base. And as you all know, because the base is kind of big, I'm going to need about 46 shulker boxes worth of amethyst shards just to put a dent in my build. So because budding amethyst takes 3 hours in order for it to mature, we just can't wait that long. We need something that could do it in the background while I'm busy doing other life things. Or as hard as it is to believe, I also need to sleep. Sleeping and working can be dedicated to just sitting around on the base, collecting amethyst shards while I'm off doing those things. So while I'm at home, that's when I'll use a Fortune 3 pickaxe, but when I'm busy, I'll run the system. And we don't have to do it with just one piston, we could do it with 4 pistons. Now, I know the obvious question is, you have the top and the bottom shards, are you just gonna lose them? Well, yes. If we were to activate this, because there's 4 fully matured amethyst shards, we now collect 8. Now I know what you're going to say. You're losing a lot of potential because you're missing out on the Fortune 3 pickups from amethyst shards. We're doing this not because it's not ideal to do Fortune 3, but rather we need to make sure that every time the budding amethyst is full, that we're capable of collecting it even when we're not here, hence the term AFK farm. So like any amethyst cluster, you have a bunch of budding amethysts. And just to showcase one for you, if we were to activate this, it'll pop off and give us 8 more. But you might notice that a budding amethyst cluster isn't going to perfectly let you do all 4 of these pistons, which brings me to another weakness of this farm. You're going to have to be sacrificing some amethyst clusters in order to collect some of them. It's kind of the nature of it. It's kind of unfortunate, but in order to get the most out of a farm, sometimes you got to make some sacrifices. And this is what we have here. After we took away some of the less than ideal budding amethysts, we have ourselves this. This whole collection over here is all the amethysts that we're able to collect using 4 pistons. Now you'll notice over here that there are going to be some budding amethysts that are going to be right next to each other and kind of overlap. These are fine. These, because they're able to be dropped down to the bottom of the area, that these are perfectly okay. Because in the end of the day, you need to get as much amethyst as possible, right? So, you know, there's no need to be perfectionist when it comes to this. You just need to make sure that it lands to the bottom. But then you'll run into the issue where there's some budding amethysts that might potentially fall on top of pistons that are below it. And this is what we have over here. We're going to use glass just so we could see the amethyst fall down. But we're going to put the glass right above the pistons so that when the amethyst cluster does break, the budding amethyst will then fall straight down and there won't be any potential to be caught on any of the pistons. But the question is, how are we going to automate this? It is going to take 3 hours. And well, how are we going to tell the system to harvest the clusters after 3 hours? And the reason why I say 3 hours is because it takes about 3 hours for the budding amethyst to be in full maturity. And this is where we come back to Ethos hopper clock. Well, it's going to be the first part of this anyway. See, when Etho hopper clock is full, it takes about 250 seconds or about 4 minutes and 10 seconds in order for the redstone block to go from one side to another. It's still a far cry away from 3 hours, so how are we going to extend this? And this is where the dropper hopper comes into play. See, what the system does is that whenever the dropper gets a signal, it'll shoot over to this hopper. But because of the redstone block here, every time it activates, the dropper then pushes it in here, the hopper will hold on to the amethyst shard, and that will keep going until this dropper is empty, in which case it'll briefly push the redstone block to the side because the comparator turned off, and then when the hopper is fully empty, it'll push the redstone block back. Thus, we can add a sort of timer to the timer, a sort of double timer if you could think of it that way. And the cool thing about an Etho hopper clock is that we could set it so that that same mechanism of powering this dropper can be put onto one side. And so that 4 minutes 10 seconds, we're just going to round it down to 4 minutes. This 4 minutes that it goes from side to side, this redstone torch can only activate once, and it'll only activate when it's in the position of when the hopper itself is empty. For that brief moment, you saw that redstone torch turn on and one of the amethyst shards gets pushed to this one. But just in case, to give us a little bit of that buffer, we're going to put it to 42. So when you combine this piston harvesting unit with the Etho hopper clock and the dropper hopper system, you get this whole thing. So when the redstone torch lights up because of the Etho hopper clock going back and forth, the dropper will then push into the hopper. And when the dropper is finally depleted of whatever filler items it has, in this case we're using amethyst shards, it'll push the redstone block, which is then going to power this entire system, thus giving you all the amethyst shards that you weren't gonna get because we're busy with life. If you want to play around with this, it's going to be schematic and a world download in the description below. And with that, let's head back to the technical guide world and get to it.
Quick interruption. I noticed that only 12% of you are actually subscribed to this channel. Watching this long, I must be doing something right, so if you like this video, hit that like button and please subscribe to this channel. Any support helps and these videos take a bit long to make. Thank you so much, and back to the video.
Okay, now that we went over on how to make an AFK Amethyst shard farm, let's go ahead and start building this thing. Dropper is set, which means that the system is in place, the Etho hopper clock is running, and the dropper hopper system is also working, which means that this whole farm is now just basically automated. Oh wow, that's whoa, way too close to my face. So I need to actually go to sleep and go to work and do all that stuff. But while we do that, we're probably going to keep this up for a couple of days just so we can get as much amethyst clusters as we can. And while that's happening, we'll be getting more and more amethyst shards along the way. So yeah, let's just go ahead and start AFKing at this farm.